Welcome to TriMet 101. Yes, I am back. I know I took a couple of weeks off. It's because, well, I have a job now and am always doing things. So let's start with a couple of housekeeping things and then we'll get into the video. Yes, I am aware, if you are not, then this is going to be the first time you've probably heard this, but Max Car 215, the second overhauled train from California, has been running. And car number 231 is at Elmonica being fixed up because it has come back as well. A lot of things have been happening, and within the next couple of weeks, starting every evening, Max Red Line trains from Gateway to the airport are going to be disrupted, and they will be testing the Type 6s out here, and the Type 6s are in testing phase 3, and so there's a lot of things happening, which is very cool to see. The new 4400 series battery electric buses, which I haven't talked about a whole lot on this channel, those are gradually being delivered and are gradually showing up on Rose City Transit, which is pretty cool. So there's a lot of things happening that I haven't talked about. At the time of filming this, Max Car 215 has been in service for well over a week, and I have still not seen it, because I've just been doing too many things. So I don't have any videos of that for now, but hopefully I'll get some footage for this channel in the not too distant future. And I also must say this might be one of only a couple of videos, because again, my uploading schedule is going to be a little weird for a while, because I'm just going to be filming a couple of videos today for this channel, and then I don't know when I'm going to have another day to film, so just letting you know the upload schedule's all weird right now. But anyways, let's talk about EcoShuttle. So let's start with something that the general public, just anybody of the general public, would be most likely to use EcoShuttle for, and that is their charter services. It's right in the name, EcoShuttle Charters and Tours. Are you hosting a wedding and need some sort of transportation for any sort of purpose? Are you doing some sort of wine tasting tour? That might be one of the most Oregon-sounding reasons to charter a bus. How about conferences where employees or people need to be in one centralized location or something? Do you have a special event going on at a school or a college? These are all pretty valid reasons that EcoShuttle just provides charters for, so you can sort of rent a transportation vehicle to transport people in. Now, I don't work for them, and I don't want this to sound like an ad, and there are plenty of other charter companies out there as well. I've never tried their charter services. I've really never done anything like this, so I don't want this to sound like an ad, but I'm just trying to introduce you to what they do. And I suppose this makes sense, but depending on the size of your group, then you might get different kinds of buses, or lengths of the journeys, you might get other types of buses. I'll talk about fleet in a little bit. The fixed route shuttle services are what I'm personally more interested in. Again, it's EcoShuttle, environmental commuter options. And so, of course, they provide shuttle services in the Portland metro area. But be warned, some of these really are not public, so it may not be a good idea to just try and ride all their services just to see what happens. So let's start off with the Pio Express. I'm not going to talk about this in too much detail because I did a video recently on this very topic. But in short, it provides service to the Lewis and Clark College in Southwest Portland, and it connects it with other nearby destinations depending on students' needs. But that's not EcoShuttle's only shuttle. I'll link this down below, but on Multnomah County's website, they also offer some other services with very oddly specific names. These are EcoShuttle. The first one I'll talk about is the Swan Island Evening Shuttle, which provides service to Swan Island in the evening. If you look at TriMet's Line 85 schedule, you'll notice something interesting. Once about 6 p.m. hits, the schedule just abruptly ends, even though there are some employees that work later than 6 p.m. And so that is why this shuttle exists. And so this particular shuttle service runs until about midnight. So it provides plenty of additional service, and it runs every 40 minutes, which isn't bad. And this service will very likely discontinue this fall when TriMet replaces Line 85 with the 40, which is also going through downtown Portland and continuing through the Sellwood area. The reason I say very likely is because TriMet could technically try and keep the service kind of similar to where Line 40's late at night would only go from Sellwood to downtown Portland or maybe Rose Quarter, and so the Swan Island shuttle could still technically operate the rest of the night, but I don't think they're going to be doing that because I'm pretty sure there are permits and situations to where EcoShuttle would end up losing their permit by December of this year to run that service anyways. It's kind of confusing, and I don't know how much of this information is accurate, but what I would say is most likely is Swan Island Evening Shuttle will be fully replaced by this fall. The Troutdale Weekend Shuttle, or the Trip Shuttle, provides service to the Amazon Distribution Center in Troutdale on weekends. TriMet's Line 81 currently only runs on weekdays, and so that's why this shuttle exists. Trip is the Troutdale Reynolds Industrial Park, which is where the Amazon distribution building is located. Again, I believe this fall, Line 81 is supposed to get weekend service with the cancellation of Line 80 and movement of that service over to the 81, meaning this shuttle will no longer exist. Also on the Multnomah County Shuttles website, you'll find Access. Now, if you've never heard of this service before, it is pretty new. It started operating in 2022. It more or less acts as a local stop version of the Max Red Line from the Park Rose area to areas south of the airport. Access is an acronym standing for all of the roads that it serves: Alderwood, Cornfoot, Columbia, Employment, Shuttle, Service. And so saying Access Shuttle Service is like saying Shuttle Service. Whatever, everybody calls it Access Shuttle anyways. And this service is provided only during weekday rush hour. All services I've talked about before are more or less free to the public. You pretty much, as long as you know about them and as long as you look at their schedules and you show up, you just hop right on, and it's a fully public service. But I will caution you on two things. Firstly, if you want to check out these shuttles, I wouldn't recommend staying on for an entire round trip. From what I've heard, some EcoShuttle operators don't really like that. It's not like TriMet where so long as the bus starts in a location and just loops and hardly even lays over on the other end, you can stay on and they really don't care. EcoShuttle's a little more not like that. The other is if you try and get the Swan Island Evening Shuttle. If you get the last 85 of the night, you only have to wait 20 to 30 minutes for that first Swan Island shuttle to show up. If you want to ride the longest trip on the Swan Island shuttle without staying on for an entire round trip and possibly bothering the operators, the best way to do that is to get on the shuttle where the FedEx parking lot is. However, the Swan Island shuttle stop is completely different from anything Line 85 serves. It doesn't go through that cutter circle or whatever. The Swan Island shuttle just pulls into the FedEx parking lot and immediately turns back around. TriMet does not service that stop, but if you look on Google Maps and you zoom into that FedEx parking lot, there is a bus stop there that'll say Swan Island Shuttle. Now time for not public stuff that they operate. Washington County has some major industrial campuses, many of which are, well, the same large tech company. And who is that company? Intel. These campuses are serviced by EcoShuttle. There are shuttle routes that connect the campuses to the MAX stations, and there's some other weird bits of operation as well. And their fleet has sort of evolved over the last few years, and it seems to never stop evolving. But by the time I wrote this script, they were pretty much using these weird buses that just say charter up on them. But now they hardly ever use those, and instead are using some Gillig Phantoms from 2003. But again, I'll talk about that a little bit better detail later. It's very weird. And speaking of Charter Up, I looked up these guys, and it seems like they do kind of similar things. They'll provide charter services for plenty of areas all across the country, and one of the locations is Portland. So I guess they partner with these guys. I don't know if they just got the fleet from these guys, or if they're also getting operators from these guys. I have no idea how any of this works, and if there's any sort of contract out there, and if there is, I kind of doubt it's publicly available. I'm not sure. It's kind of mysterious. To my knowledge, there are 2 fixed routes with a schedule. One of these routes goes from the Jones Farm campus to the Fair Complex Max Station, and the other one goes from 2 stops in the Ronler Acres campus and goes to the Orenco station. Now, there might be a third route, but I don't know if it has a schedule that provides local service within the Ronler Acres campus. The Hawthorne Farm Intel campus doesn't get any shuttle services, but it's right at the Max station, so it doesn't really need one. Also, side note, those buses that park at Hawthorne Farm, I don't think are EcoShuttle. They do park there, and there are buses, but the main Intel buses park at Ronler, so that's weird. And the 4th Intel campus is the Aloha campus, which also doesn't get any shuttle services to my knowledge, which is weird because it's really not that far from the Kotama Max Blue Line station, and I think it would benefit from shuttle services. On EcoShuttle's website, you'll find a link on here for Track Your Bus. One of these takes you to the PIO, the Lewis and Clark buses that I've talked about before. But there's another one on here that says Arbor School, but it requires a login. On the Arbor School website, I've looked, and where it says transportation or whatever, they mention that EcoShuttle provides a service from there to Northeast Portland. That's all it says, and that is all the information I know. I don't know where in Northeast Portland. I don't know what kind of vehicles they use. It might be school buses. I don't know what schedule it has. It's very mysterious. And before I get on to other stuff, I didn't put this in the script, but I may or may not have snuck onto the Intel bus to get a video of it. I honestly don't know if I was supposed to do that. Probably not. These buses are meant for employees only, and I would not recommend repeating what I did. But I did get on at the Ronler Acres campus. That video will be up on this channel eventually, but I would not recommend replicating that, because what I did may not have been 100% legal and may have been trespassing, but it doesn't say anywhere employees only. It doesn't say no trespassing, and they don't ID you when you get on board. I don't want them to have to start IDing people, so I would highly recommend that unless you are an Intel employee, stay off of the buses and just don't cause a scene. Let's talk about some other stuff. These aren't necessarily charters, but they are sort of special event services. A number of years ago, the Washington County Fair in Hillsborough, right at the Fair Complex Max Station, they would have the fair every year, and they still do. But before that West Side Commons building was built, the fair was all pretty far away from the Max Station. And so somebody, it could have been EcoShuttle, I'm honestly not sure, provided shuttle buses on school buses. I believe they had 2, where you could just hop on at the Max Station and it would take you right to the fairgrounds entrance, which was cool. They don't do that anymore because you can just go in through West Side Commons, which is a lot closer to the Max Station. I honestly don't remember if I recorded that on video. I took those shuttles a couple of times, but I honestly don't remember if I filmed it. And if I did, I highly doubt I filmed the outside of the buses to where it says who may have operated them. Could have been Hillsborough School District. Could have been First Transit. I honestly don't know. And if I have those videos, they're probably buried deep in one of my hard drives, and I honestly don't even remember if I filmed them. So, alright, fleet time. You may have noticed that some of my more recent bus ride videos are a little more detailed. I promise this is related. So I'll give, the bus number and what kind of bus it is and the year it came out. But then I have another page that has more of the technical things, like what engine it has and what transmission and all that sort of thing. Now, my whole idea here started because I created a document, which I'll show in a little bit, on my computer, on Notepad, where I typed out all this information into one document so I can use them for my bus ride videos. And I put extra information in there. And I've done multiple companies. One of these companies is EcoShuttle. Now, the CPTDB thing gives you a list. They have a fleet list on their website, but it is kind of outdated. Some of the vehicles have since retired, and there are a lot of missing vehicles. So I was trying to make a more complete version of that list. But thanks to a friend that has helped me out with bus tracking and things like that, I now have a bit more information now than what is currently available on CPTDB. It's up to you if you want to believe this information or not. I don't want to be seen as, oh, I'm constantly always correct with everything I say on video, and that everything I say just, hold to the standard or whatever. But I'm going to show you the list now that's a lot more complete than what's on CPTDB. There is still a lot of unknown or question mark or whatever, because there are buses that show up on this particular bus tracker that we just don't know what the heck they are. Are any of these school buses? Are any of these additional cutaways? We don't know. Now, remember back to my Pio Express video that I did, where I just simply said, I don't know what EcoShuttle's numbering system is. It makes no sense to me. I have no idea how they number their vehicles. Well, I finally figured out a pattern, and it is not always true. Look at EcoShuttle's current numbers about all the vehicles they use, and then look at the VIN numbers. So the VIN is usually a long stretch of letters and numbers, but it usually ends with a string of numbers at the end. The last 3 digits of that are the same as the vehicle number. So if, for example, you look at vehicle 462, 462 is a 30-foot Gillig BRT, and it's full BRT in the front and back, which is interesting. This bus came from Madison County Transit in Illinois and still carries the original number inside. You can see it inside. 3027. That's not even close to 462. But if you look at the VIN of that particular bus, the last 3 digits are 462. So that is how EcoShuttle numbers many of its vehicles. Not all, and there are exceptions. EcoShuttle's general strategy seems to be to buy old, used, retired buses and use those as part of the fleet. Are your buses going up for auction? Are you on the west coast of the United States? Well, you just might have EcoShuttle buying a bus from you. So long as it pretty much runs fine, they'll get cutaways, transit buses, motor coaches, maybe even other things as well. That's what they do. They get old buses. So, what's my verdict on EcoShuttle? Are they good, or do they have some major problems? What's the major improvements that they need? Well, generally, I'm fine with EcoShuttle. I don't have much to complain about. The drivers seem very friendly, even if they don't want you staying on the bus for no reason. And it's always kind of cool to get to ride some nostalgic buses. They must have some pretty good mechanics and know how to take care of buses as well, because there were some new flyers from 1997 to 98 that were running up until just a couple years ago. Those things are older than me. Through TriMet's Forward Together thing, it does mean that TriMet is sort of taking over a lot of these shuttle services, which is a little unfortunate, but there is a silver lining to this. It means that EcoShuttle's drivers can now either increase frequency on existing routes or start up brand new shuttle services, which the area desperately needs. Imagine if Jansen Beach had a little shuttle that actually served some of the destinations and served the shopping areas a little better. Or if there was an express shuttle bus that went from the Kenton Max Yaw Line station right to Portland Airport. I think the access shuttle should use bigger vehicles. There's already a vehicle, number 146. That's a 35-foot Gillig Phantom from 2003 that they literally painted with an access livery thing on it, and they just don't run it. They should bring that back out, increasing frequency on that, and especially I think the route is a little weird how it goes to the Cully neighborhood rather than the airport or even to the Cascade Station area. It just kind of goes to the middle of a neighborhood and just ends. It doesn't really connect with anything. And my thoughts on the Intel shuttles are that they are pretty much fine, but my only big issue is that the Aloha campus doesn't get a shuttle. If you had a bus that went up 198th and then took a left onto Baseline and then onto 205th or whatever to get to the Katama Max Station Park and Ride, that would make a lot of sense, but they just don't really operate that. And the shuttle that sorta operates within the Rondler campus doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. I don't really know where it goes, and I think should connect on the west side on Chute Road to the ride connection stop at building RA5, which again, to my knowledge, is not really served. So, some little minor improvements here or there, but really, in general, EcoShuttle's a pretty good company that operates a lot of good services and seems like they have pretty good people. Again, I don't want this to be an advertisement for or against anything. I just want to tell you my honest opinion, and I want to tell you that it's very interesting to me and that I like riding their buses and just checking out what they have to offer. But this video went on way, way too long, so I want to thank you for watching this, and I will see you next time.